Hi, and welcome to the Ready for Love podcast with Anae Orette, the dating and relationship advice show dedicated to helping you create a single life you love, date with confidence and ease, and ultimately attract the love of your life. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome back to the Ready for Love podcast. You're here with me, Anae Orette, dating and relationship coach, and today is one of those days that I'm just so excited. I'm always so excited about my guest interviews, but today I'm going to be talking to somebody that I've been following for a while online, and I'm just so excited to actually have her here with me and just to hear what she has to share with us. And this special person is Rebecca Perkins. So Rebecca is the co-founder of Irresistible Dating, and we'll hear more about that later. She's creator of the Midlife Coach and author of Best Knickers Always, 50 Lessons for Midlife, and I'm looking forward to hear the story behind that title. Rebecca is passionate about reinventing midlife. So following a divorce, Rebecca found herself single, 45 years old, and set about online dating in midlife. These days, she loves sharing her experiences and expertise as a coach with her clients and guiding them into the right mindset for dating success. Midlife has taught her to be open-minded, to take more risks, to enjoy the simple things, and to live each and every day with the question, if not now, when? She lives by the sea in South Wales and enjoys celebrating life after 50. So you can find Rebecca on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, her wonderful website, and I really recommend you check out her wonderful blog as well with videos, but we will put all the links in the show notes. But no more waiting, Rebecca. It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, I am so thrilled, Anae, to have been invited onto your show, and likewise have followed you for a while. We kind of met in passing at the Dating Awards, and it's really good to be able to have a conversation.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that I'm excited about is we kind of have a similar demographic as well when it comes to our clients. So that's even more special. So yes. Wonderful. So let's just dive straight in. I'm wondering about this term midlife, because I'm almost 42. And I'm wondering if I fall in that because I actually still feel 25. But what does midlife mean to you? How do you define it?
It's so interesting you say that, because I'm 54, right, and I still feel like I'm in my 20s, I guess. And you see, even that in itself is fascinating. So I guess midlife, if you think, a dictionary definition is halfway through your life. And we're living later and later now. So yes, it could be in your 40s, 50s. I even have women that write to me who are in their 60s and say, I think I'm probably beyond midlife, and it's just a term, it's just a word. But what was interesting, and the thing that came up for me, was when as you said, I was divorced when I was 45 and just kind of going to start dating again. And my eldest at the time, who was away at university, he said to me, but Mum, you've got half your life ahead of you. And that, I still remember it as clearly today as when he said that to me, which was almost 10 years ago, almost. And it's so true. So many women and men we hear of midlife crisis, and it's that realization that maybe we've got less time ahead than we've already used up. And that can send people into a bit of a tailspin. And they start kind of looking back at their past. Are they where they expected they'd be? What can they do now going forward? And it can really, some people can unravel because of that. And for me, I've always been somebody that's looked forward, has been open-hearted in a way. And what I love to share is to share with women particularly that this time of midlife is a time of transition. And for many that have had families, that children are now leaving home, or they've still got children at home, but they're dealing with aging parents. They might have been married for 20 years or so and are now looking across the table and thinking, are you the guy I married? Do I still want to be with you? They might be looking at career change. They might have taken a big chunk of time off to raise a family and now thinking, okay, so what happens now? So that's kind of where I come in, because that's where I found myself. And so my niche became my own experience, which felt like the right thing to do. So midlife is, to me, there's no real age, but it's a time in our life where we're taking stock. And maybe for a lot of women, it's coming up for air for the first time in quite a long time.
Yeah.
And often one of the things I hear a lot is women saying, I've lost something. I don't know who I am anymore. I've lost touch with that, as we've just said, that 20-year-old that, you know, that I was. And is she still in there? And how do I reconnect?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of, I guess what I see as midlife.
Yeah. And that's where your question come in, right? Because it's such a, I guess there's that decision point where you're going to decide to embrace it.
Yeah.
And go one way, or kind of, I don't know, maybe not give up, but kind of just, okay, well, you know, it's kind of, it's over and it's kind of downhill from here. And you help people to do, obviously, do the other choice.
Yes.
and help them through that part. Yeah.
Yes. I remember a client saying to me that she'd, and we were coaching on midlife, a career shift change for her. And she said she remembers, you know, in fact, she was a very elderly aunt, but I think her husband had died when she was 53. I'm sure it was 53. And she kind of sat down in an armchair and that was it for the rest of her life. She did nothing else. And that's, gosh, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, now's the time. And I am so passionate about this. Now is the time to get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what I see. And in maybe a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Or just regrouping and saying that all that stuff that was on the back burner, maybe it's now time to bring it to the front and, you know, take a look at it again.
I wonder so often, because, you know, we obviously, I can hear in terms of midlife, you help people through different kinds of transitions. It's not just dating again and finding love again. It's many different challenges that come with this phase in our lives. So, you know, something that I wonder about so often is I got divorced when I was 34, 35, and it was only then that I kind of woke up in my life, I think. And, you know, I'm kind of glad that it happened then and maybe not 10 years later and so on, but I'm still waking up. But I just want, what is the thing that we sometimes need a crisis to wake us up? I don't know, a divorce, a big breakup, children leaving home, or illness, or grief that comes with, you know, all different life circumstances. But why do we let ourselves go to the point where we actually need a crisis to wake us up?
It's a question I have asked so many times and written about, you know, in just kind of snippets in blogs. Why do we need a crisis to wake us up? And, you know, it's even like I was thinking, an old university friend of mine very sadly passed away last week. He was 54 years old. And I know that the whole group of us were kind of shocked, and we kind of suspected it was coming. He'd been ill for a couple of years. But still, for about a few days, everybody's live life to the full, carpe diem, seize the day and all of that. And then everybody goes back into their normal ways again. Because I think we think we're, I don't want to say invincible, but I think we don't see ourselves as mortal somehow. We'll just go on, I'll sort it tomorrow. Because we can get very comfortable in our discomfort, if that makes any sense. That life's okay, It's not too difficult. It's not too uncomfortable. The boss isn't too, of a pain. The partner isn't that annoying, or whatever it is. And it almost takes something crisis-like to wake us up. And I urge everyone is to just be awake in your life. And as I said, as you said in my introduction, if not now, when is something that I live by, and question myself about it, and urge clients to question themselves. Because, and again, this isn't talking about going for perfection, because that's all made up, but it's just seeing how good life can be when we are fully awake. And it feels like a mission of mine to share that. And it might be that your relationship isn't great, but it's okay. So let's make it great again.
Yeah.
Or even, and I'm sure we'll get onto this, but so many people's experience of dating is that it's hard work and it's effortful and it's joyless. So how can we change that and help people see that it's almost like, it's funny actually, because I'm sitting here, I've got the shutters drawn here because the sun's coming in, and otherwise I'd be, you wouldn't be able to see me because it would be so bright. But it's almost like, let's open the shutters.
I love that. Yeah, that's a beautiful analogy.
And let the daylight in. Because we do, and I think it's right, and it bears repeating, we get comfortable in our, in our dis-ease, if you like, in that kind of, it's just, it's all right, that kind of attitude.
Yeah. I guess there's also the kind of scary thought about what it will actually take to change that, and what that would mean, and what it would cost us, and what we would need to leave behind. But this is where, working with somebody like you, and, I think coaching in general anyway is a wonderful thing. And it's but that's where somebody like you comes in, right? Is to help that transition process.
And it's helping people see, or asking them the question, what of all the things you believe are actually true? Mm-hmm. Okay. What's actually true? So somebody might come to me and they spill all of this stuff out. Oh, this is happening and that's happening, and this is what my life's like, and blah 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 blah. And I'll say, okay, so what of that is actually true? Because we tell ourselves so many stories.
Yes.
And it's not true.
No.
We've made it all up.
Yeah.
Whether you think dating's hard or you think it's easy, you've made it up.
And then we make it true.
And then we make it true, and we go outside and we look for proof. And the proof always comes to us. You know what it's like. Proof is always there.
Well,
if we want to find it.
If you look for a specific kind of truth, you'll definitely find it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my word. I can yeah. I can see we're going to be here for a little while. Okay, one question. So, right, thank you very much for that. I had a quick question about the title of your book, because I love it and it really caught my eye. But just very briefly before we move into the next bits, how did you decide on that, and what's behind it?
I love this. So I got divorced, or I was going through my divorce. I met somebody, reconnected with somebody I'd been at university with. I'd a platonic friendship at university. We kind of Facebook kind of got us together somehow. Blessed Facebook. And we connected, and we had a bit of a passionate affair for a while, a romance, and then it all collapsed, which I kind of knew. I wasn't in, and in fact, if you read my book, I recount a lot of that there. And it was cathartic. It was the thing that I needed, because I collapsed, and it was almost like sliding down the wall into a fetal position, and I just sobbed and sobbed, and it was years of tears came out for all sorts of stuff. And a girlfriend was looking out for me, and she texted me, "How are you today?" And I said, dreadful. I don't think I'll ever get my life back together. I can't imagine smiling or laughing again, blah, blah, blah. And she wrote back, "One day at a time, look after yourself. You will feel better. And remember, best Knickers always." And I laughed, because I knew what she meant. Mm-hmm. This was about me looking after me. It wasn't about having best Knickers on in case I got lucky or anything like that. This was look after yourself. Mm-hmm. And that was almost like, when you're down at the bottom of a well and somebody throws a ladder down. That was the first rung of the ladder. Yeah. For me, best Knickers always. And so, it was a no-brainer, really. That was then. So I started blogging and just doing a lot of writing and sharing what I was going through, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of women. And then when I came to write the book, it was several years ahead beyond that time. And I realized that I was in a much better place, and how had I got there? So I literally sat down and wrote all these bullet points and distilled it into 50 Lessons for Midlife, which I then first released as an ebook on my 50th birthday.
Oh, gorgeous.
Which was lovely. And then 2 days later, a dream came true, where a publisher contacted me and said she'd read it and she'd really like to publish it. So that was the wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Oh, gosh, yeah, I just love stories like this all the time. I just love it, but you just said something that made me think of, I've worked with clients a few times going through this particular scenario, but there's somebody at the moment, and this is so close to my heart, where this first relationship after her divorce, it's just exacerbated all the unresolved pain and the grief and the trauma of her divorce, and it's double as hard. And for her, it's like going through everything twice. It's the story is very, very similar to yours. A long lost person that came back into her life, reconnected, amazing for about 6 months, and it all ended. And she's literally going through that right now, and it's just the pain.
And I think one of the things I've learned as well is that all of our emotions are valid. So feel the pain, feel the anger if you need to feel the anger, because the moment we start to say, "Oh, well, happy thoughts are the good ones and I'm going to feel those, and those are negative ones or seen as negative ones, I mustn't feel those ones," that's where the trouble lies, is when we don't allow ourselves to feel that. Because all of our feelings come from our thinking. And when we see that our thinking is transient, then we can feel okay about our feelings, because it's not going to be permanent. But the minute, so think of it this way, and another metaphor is that there's a single cloud in the sky, okay, and we notice it, and it just floats on by, okay, so we don't give it a second thought. But there's that particular cloud that we label, my grief, if you like, at the ending of the relationship. And we then kind of add to that thinking by thinking, oh, this is dreadful, and why did this happen again? Then another couple of clouds have popped up. And then we think about that, and more clouds have popped up. And they get darker and darker and darker. And before we know it, the whole sky is filled with these black clouds. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's what we then attach to, that's my life. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whereas if we had just seen it as a single cloud, I'm feeling grief today, and done nothing with that, if that makes sense, mm-hmm. then it passes by. And then the next minute don't know why this has popped in my head. You're looking at a cat video on the YouTube. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
But it's okay to feel that. It's horrible, but it's okay to feel it.
Yeah.
And you won't always feel that way. But the minute we try and, it's almost like, again, trying to put a sticking plaster over something when you need the air at it to heal it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love your analogies.
Thank you. Sometimes I've always loved, metaphor analogies.
Yeah.
But sometimes when words don't go in so much for people, but a story, it's like you're painting a picture so they see it.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 So the thing that always gives me hope, and, with your story, and certainly part of my story, and so many women that I speak to and actually also work with through all of this, is knowing and believing that something at some point, something amazing is going to come out of this.
Yeah. Depending
on what you do with it. What you do with this thing that's happened in your life. And, just like this Knickers Always has turned into this incredible new chapter in your life. And that makes me so excited.
Yeah.
For anybody, and I mean this from the most deepest loving place in my heart, anybody who's listening now, to us talking, that might be at some point on their journey that just can't see the light or think that they're ever going to be happy or smile again or find love again, or, just no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just, you're not alone. Many have been through and gotten through to the other side, and there's something beautiful at the end of it. So thank you for sharing that.
That's okay. And just kind of one thing, I suffered years of depression, in my kind of after I'd had children, and then just before all of the divorce, before making the decision to end the marriage. And I remember feeling quite black. And then also after that period after that relationship broke up, and I wasn't depressed, but I felt in a very dark place. And a girlfriend said to me, I've got a candle alight for you. And it wasn't said in a religious way or anything like that, but this was, it was on, as you've said, the light at the end of the tunnel. There is, for some people, they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, is knowing just somewhere in the tiny, deepest part of them that there is a light that never, ever goes out. However awful and bleak things look for them right now, there is a light. It's like the pilot light, on your boiler. It's always lit. Yeah. And we just can't see it. And trust. So, that's one thing I would say is, if you can't see this for yourself right now because of where you are, just trust that maybe it could be different. Mm-hmm. And that certainly helped me.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I'm sure you don't really know where that comes from, but it's just there. It's just that thing that makes you get up tomorrow and just do it day by day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moment by moment as well.
Yeah, sometimes.
Moment by moment.
When you said earlier about slumping down the wall into fetal position, I think there's so many of us that can absolutely relate to that. And then, Oh, thank you, Rebecca. I'm having flashbacks of so many things. But here we are. So, as people go into midlife dating at this point in their lives, maybe another day we can talk about, the differences between when you're like 20 or 30, or I think every phase in our lives have different advantages or things that are challenges. But so in your experience and your observation and working with clients and so, what's the biggest hurdle or maybe the biggest mistake people make when they start dating again at this point in their lives?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind, which I know is something that I know we're talking about it a bit later, but it feels the right thing to say now, is expectation. I think that's the biggest thing is, and expectation on two extremes that, I'm never going to find anybody, to kind of, yes, I'll find somebody straight away, and then they don't. So it's finding a balance. So the whole expectation thing is, I think, key. And it's, for me, what I would say to people, and it's what I did, interestingly, when I first then was ready to go back dating again, was having no expectation at all. And for me, it's almost like, in fact, one of my mentors said to me, the only question to ask is, do I like hanging out with this person? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, then do more of it. And if it's no, then move on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I've come across as the biggest spanner in the works.
Mm-hmm. Is our own expectations.
Yeah.
Right. So, as you said, we're definitely going to come back to this in more detail in just a moment. But thank you very much for bringing that up. That is, it's certainly something I still have that as well, with, not necessarily relationships, or even though I sometimes do still project my expectations onto Neil and then get annoyed when he doesn't live up to them.
I know. How bad is that?
So, totally guilty. But yeah, we're going to come back to that. But thank you. So that's really helpful. So people who are successful in finding love again and enjoying the journey and so on. So is it by definition then the opposite, that they don't have expectations, or what is it that they do? What do you see successful, so to speak, people do that could help somebody else?
There is, some people treat dating as a second career. So it's, right, as soon as I get home from work, I'm going online and all of this, and it becomes another job. And I find that that's not successful. Those are the not successful people. This is, the more we hear about this. When you're not looking for it, it kind of makes itself known to you. Okay. So what I'm saying is, yes, get your mindset in the right place. And that's the work that you and I both do, is helping people get their mindset, their head in the right place. But then go live your life and carry on with, watching the sunrises, as I did the other morning, which was totally mad, but it was wonderful. Being in your job, spending time with your friends, having plans, booking your holiday, rather than thinking, oh, I haven't met anybody yet. Okay? Because it's when we're focused on lack, what we don't have, then we're not successful. So the successful people are the ones that are living their lives. Mm-hmm. They've got their head in the right place. They know that they're not defined by having a relationship, that it would just be a nice, it's not like it's an added extra, but it would enhance an already good life. Mm-hmm. Okay? Those are the successful people. Yeah. The ones that know that they are already complete. They don't need somebody to complete them. It's like the complete opposite of all of the Hollywood love stories. hanging, waiting for my life to begin until I meet someone.
Yeah.
No, live your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. We're so on the same page. It was like, yeah,
no.
yep.
Yes.
Yeah. It is very much a mind shift, isn't it? And that is, I think, what's missing so often is getting stuck in all these. I always talk about the superficial dating advice and tips and strategies and tactics and things that is just, can be actually much more harmful, because it just keeps making you second guess yourself about whether you're saying the right thing, doing the right thing, going the right places, wearing the right thing, texting the right, no.
Yes.
So unless you do have your mind in the right place and understand what's gone wrong, and we're going to come to that, and what's happening for you, none of that's going to work anyway, right? Yeah. Okay. So, we're actually going to talk today about 3 steps to effortless relationships. And so this is going to be just getting as much as we can from your amazing experience and wisdom around how we get to create and maintain and build effortless relationships. So how about we just start with number 1. I'm already all ears. Yeah. Step 1.
So this one is, well, when we had a conversation before to talk about what we were going to talk about, this is the one that we both got really excited about. Yeah. It's the most important thing is reconnecting with yourself. And I can't emphasize that enough. And this is about, okay, so we all wear masks. Okay, the mask that we present to the world, or what we feel we should be presenting to the world. I don't do it so much. I mean, yes, of course, there are days, but kind of with me these days, it's what you see is what you get. And that's me. And it would be hard for me to try and be anything different these days. But when we reconnect with ourselves and see truly, and we've heard it 100 different ways, that love begins within, that's it. That is it. And I'm not talking about, standing in front of the mirror and going, "Morning, tiger, you're looking gorgeous today," because that's superficial, as we've said. That's the superficial stuff. This place deep within you, the pilot light, whatever you want to call it, the diamond that's within you, is perfect. Okay? Untouchable. Nothing on the outside can touch that. And that's what is, when you get a glimpse of that, then it's like your boiler then bursts into life. All right? You know what it's like when you hang out with people that are turned on like that are coming from that place, from that deep connection with themselves. And that's who we all have the potential to be inside us. Every single one of us. But we've laid it up with, I'm this sort of person. I'm like that. I'm shy. I'm an extrovert. I'm not good talking to people. I'm not, somebody to stand up in front of a crowd. I'm not good at maths or whatever it is. Okay. All of those things we've laid up as we've gone through life. And then on top of that, we put this fabulous varnish that we then present to the world. So this is me. This is who I am. And when that doesn't feel right. When, it's like, so another word for this is our wisdom. It's our innate knowing. Okay. Or another way of looking at it is it's home. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And okay, so thinking of home is where, the first thing that came to mind was where the Wi-Fi connects immediately, and that means we're connected, but with ourselves. It's where we can put our pajamas on and our woolly socks. I'm sitting here in a nice blouse and I've got knitted socks on my feet, but you can't see that. But, it's where I can be unapologetically me. And that, when you offer that to the world, it's magic. But social media, so many of the dating kind of advices and things like that is, like we've said, wear these sorts of clothes, or, present this. This is how, these are the kind of words you want to write in a text. That's all. That's another layer keeping us from who we are. Mm-hmm. And the moment we reconnect deeply with that sense of who we are, and that is perfect. So if you hear, no, but I don't love myself, or no, but there's this, that's the little self, that's the ego. Okay. Your deep inner self is perfect.
So let's just backtrack just for a second, right? If we don't do this work of reconnecting to ourselves, whether we are coming out of a relationship or a marriage, or still going through all that pain and trauma of dealing with the fallout, shall we say, or we've never been in a long-term relationship or marriage that we've committed, to spend our lives with somebody, it just seems so obvious and so logical that unless we do this work of reconnecting with ourselves, that we are most likely going to attract the wrong people, commit to the wrong people, and marry the wrong person eventually. Or even if there is potential for it to work, then it might not, because we didn't show up who we are. So just logically, in a simple context, this is not difficult to figure out, right?
Yeah.
But just why is it so hard for us to do this? In your experience, what is it, or do we not know that this is happening until something wakes us up?
I think we behave like this innocently. Okay. This is an innocent forgetting of who we are. Okay. So, you go back and you think, we were born perfect. Every baby that's born is born perfect. They're in love with themselves. They are the center of the universe. You just see it in a newborn. And then over time, we build up these layers that I need to be a certain way to be loved. I'm not good at X. We make meaning out of one bad breakup or one ending of a relationship that we kind of I don't know why he left me when I was 14, or, and we make it mean something about us. And we innocently just add more and more layers as we go through life, and for fear of being hurt, because we feel the outside world is hurting us. Whereas it's not, it doesn't work that way. It's our own thinking that's created that. As I said, going back, what do I know to be true? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And we are all lovable. Mm. And all have the potential to love.
Yeah.
Okay. But I like this idea that it's an innocent misunderstanding. Because that means that we can, when we see something in this, these, I call them transformative conversations. Mm-hmm. When you see something here for you, it's like, so I don't have to believe that anymore.
No.
But most people go through life blind to this. And of course, the older we get, the more, it's like carrying the 25 kilos of suitcase behind you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've just got used to thinking that way.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things that I want to do, and I'm talking to my daughter who's in her 20s about it, is speaking to younger people about this understanding, this misunderstanding, and that it is all about reconnection with ourselves is where it's at. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50 or 75 when you see something here for you.
Yeah.
It's a new page.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It can, you know, you can be in a relationship that's kind of struggling and see something in this, and it can be the reinvigoration that relationship needs. But it is a waking up, as we've said.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think definitely one of the, you know, if this is not probably 80% of the work that I do with my clients, it is about getting to the root of what is blocking you, what is holding you back. And I guess it's just another way of saying it's getting to the root of all this, all these layers and all these beliefs and all these thoughts and all these things that we've carried with us for years and deconstructed, and just getting to the actual truth. And that's a beautiful thing to go through. And then on the other hand, I don't think that work is ever really done, because there's always the next level and the next level. So I get so excited about all of this. So thank you. So step one is about this. This is where it's at. It's about reconnecting with our deepest, most beautiful, truest, perfect self. So the second one we touched on a little bit earlier, but we talked about expectations. And I was just literally, I wrote a blog this morning exactly about expectation. This has been a theme this week for some reason, because
funny, isn't it?
Somebody wrote to me, and I'm so glad we're going to talk about it. She wrote to me to say that she was now seeing somebody, and she's a human rights lawyer. And the person that she turned out, you know, the guy that she's now seeing is a truck driver. And this is no reference to job titles or anything. This is just her circumstances. You can replace any word with any other word. But the point was, as she said, she's like, I never imagined that I would be with anybody different than some sort of person in the human rights world, and a lawyer and a high flying and traveling. And here she meets this guy who she says is like the most handsome, intelligent, kind, funny, loyal, sincere, loveliest man, who loves being home and being security and being grounded. And she realized that if she was with another human rights lawyer, it just, for the first time, she realized that would never have worked. But she only realized because her package, she put it, turned out to be a different package. And anyway, so it just made me think about expectations as well, because for so long she was holding on to a specific idea. And I did that myself. I absolutely. Neil didn't fit the package that I had in my mind at all. Nothing. But here we are. So anyway, so please talk to us a little bit more about how do we let go? It's one thing to say let go, but how do we do it?
I just love the whole thing about expectations, isn't it? Because, you know, if you think about it, we set our rules, okay, of how people should behave. And then we get cross with them when they don't adhere to the rules that we created for them, which is complete nonsense if you think about it. So, you know, we get cross when somebody doesn't respond to an email within 24 hours, because that's the rule we set. And we get cross with them, but they don't know what the rules are. We haven't told them what the rules of the game are. And we believe that to be true. Well, he didn't respond in 12 hours, so nope, that's it. And I had crazy expectations, you know, that, you know, back in the day, it was that when men need to make the first move. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm a feminist, and there I was, you know, thinking that it was up to them to do it. Again, in fact, this came up with a client, this whole ghosting thing, of you've been in communication with somebody, you might even have been on a few dates, and then they completely disappear. You don't hear from them again. And we can have so many thoughts about that, blaming them and this isn't right and blah, 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 blah. But again, those are our expectations of how people should behave. And we get let down by the rules that we've created. So it all comes back to our thoughts and our beliefs. And that's what's interesting about what you talk about with your clients as well, because so many of us limit our potential for meeting people because, and again, it's like you'll find them online. People will say, yes, write a list of the sort of person you want to date, write a story, write it, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. I mean, I've had clients that have said, I'll only go out with somebody who's got a university degree.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? So I'll challenge, why? Are you saying that, and they'll give some reason, which seems absolutely valid for them. But conversation is really important. So do you know anybody that's not been to university that you've had a decent conversation with? Friends of yours or, the guy who works in the garage or the whatever? Oh, yeah. So it's it's their expectations. Yeah. And these can have been drummed into us from a young age. Yeah. I remember, and this just comes to mind, my mum, when I was a teenager, my mum saying to me, well, I won't allow you to go out with any boys who live on almost with that postcode. Right. And it was like, really? Because the assumption is that that's the rough part of town. And we carry that through, that they need to be this, they need to be that. And we're the ones that get hurt, but we're blaming it out there. On the circumstances, and it's not that. So the moment we can, and when you say, how do we let go of that? We see it. When we notice that's what we're doing, we can go, okay. So I'm believing that. And I don't need to believe that.
No.
So, there's kind of, even saying letting go, that feels effortful, well, how do I do that? Well, actually, you don't need to do anything. You just need to notice that's what you're doing. And then it suddenly doesn't make sense anymore to keep doing it.
Yeah. Because expectation just feels so heavy, doesn't it? It just really, it feels heavy. And this is, I project certain expectations onto Neil, who's somebody that I know really well and he knows me really well. And, we deal with that and vice versa, and that's the dance and between us and whatever. But we're talking about, when we're dating, we're often talking about complete strangers. Nobody knows anything about us. We don't know them. And then we still do that, and it's almost like trying to engineer is very much a control thing, I guess. Right? Orchestrating and engineering a situation.
I had a friend who was, and this is going back 10 years, and he was 10 years younger than me, a guy I knew, and he was in his mid-30s, and he was dating, and he hated dating because he would be meeting women in their early 30s probably, and he said they were all looking at me on the first date with eyes that said, are you going to be the father to my child? Now, that is one hell of a load of expectation.
That's huge. Wow.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So, you wouldn't want to be, I think from a woman's point of view, I wouldn't want to be a man in that position or in any kind of having expectations placed on my future.
No, exactly.
At that point.
And so for me, this is about, and it's going back to what I said earlier about, do you like hanging out? That's it.
Yeah. It's all you need to know, really,
That's
right?
all you need to know. Do you like hanging out?
Yeah. I think something else that's a layer on top of that is that I think especially us as women, we're very good at this, is where we say we go on a date, it doesn't quite work out, the hanging out just didn't work out. And then we assume responsibility, we take responsibility because it must have been something that we did or didn't do, or said or didn't say, or we didn't look right, or, we kind of, that's almost like the reverse of having that expectation of ourselves to be this perfect version of us on a date, and if he doesn't want to go on a second date, then it's because of something that we did. And I'm just reminded of that because that's the kind of conversation that I kind of regularly have with there's just that assumption that it was something that we said or did, which is also not right.
That's not true either, is it? It's not.
Definitely
it's not.
Definitely not.
Because then can you see, then we're building up more layers on top of, covering up this perfection that we are inside. Mm-hmm. And yes, of course, it's going to happen that two people go on a date and they both think, that was, don't want to do that one again.
Yeah.
Or two people go on a date and they think, yeah, really want to do that again. Or two people go on a date and one says, that was really cool, and the other one says, oh my God, that was awful. Mm-hmm. But even if you're the one that's kind of expecting, hoping, wishing, do you want to be on a date? You don't want to be with that person that doesn't want to, isn't in the right mindset, or you're not the kind of person that they're looking for, or whatever. So it's not about you. It's not about you.
No, it's not. It's not a reflection on you personally. No. Absolutely.
And again, it's when you see that, you can go, well, that's okay then. And again, it's the expectation of, it's almost like after, and you see it all the time, after a first date and we're texting, oh my God, that was the most amazing date, blah, blah, blah. And, and all the girlfriends then, you can't help at times, because that's how we've believed life to be. We can't help but think about, oh my God, and I'm going to introduce him to my friends and then my family, and we're going to go away on this holiday, and just driving home from your first date. Yeah. And again, those expectations.
Yo.
I have not.
Guilty.
Oh, me too.
Years ago, but definitely guilty.
Me too.
Well, this is interesting because Neil, the first time he met me, he decided this is it. And then on our very first, when he came to meet me for our first date, that's a whole different story, but his sister asked him in the morning, so where are you off to? And he's, well, I'm going to have lunch with the next Mrs. Stanley. And that was, wow. But he obviously didn't tell me any of that. I found that out much, much, much later. But, he was just, that's it. That's his expectation for how life's going to turn out. And he persisted, and that's what happened. But anyway, so that's not quite the thing we're talking about. But yeah, I definitely had stars in my eyes about things way too early and projected a lot of stuff, and it really hurt. I was the one that got really, really hurt.
Oh, well, absolutely. You are the only one that'll be hurt. And it's like, along with, what was I going to say then about expectation? It's just the weight that we put on ourselves with that.
Yeah.
That it blinds us. It blinds us.
So deep breaths and just...
Yes.
I guess it's still noticing it, but then there's still that small moment in time where you need to make a choice and a decision about whether you're going to do it or not. You still have... This is the one thing you have absolute control over, right? Is you can decide to not...
I always say it's like there's always a fork in the road. You're here and you can choose to go down the rabbit hole of despair.
Yeah.
Of we were going to get married and after date one. Or we can go, oh well, that was a cool date. on to the next one. And I don't mean that to sound callous, but it's just, that was an experience. It was a good experience, and you can have more of them, and they can be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can choose to go down the kind of, as I say, the rabbit hole of despair and into make it mean something about you. It's almost like having a pity party, but woe is me, and this is just my life, and it's always like this, and I'll never find anybody, and blah, just go down that place.
Yeah.
Or you can ask yourself then, or have a friend that says, but what do you know to be true?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we had a good date, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's what actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, the stronger your connection is with yourself, everything that we covered in point 1, the stronger you are in that place where you can just let these things go. But when you're still holding on to a lot of that doubt and insecurity, and you do feel disconnected to yourself in so many ways, then I think that's where we take the other route of questioning ourselves and really bringing ourselves down, right? So they are really connected as well.
Yes, yeah. Oh, very much so.
And this very nicely leads us into the third point.
Third question.
We've done, number 1 is about reconnecting to our deepest self. The second one, letting go of expectations. And then the third one is realizing, I love this one, that we alone are responsible for how we feel. So just tell us, what do you mean by that?
Well, it's interesting because that was so good, because literally what we just finished on talking about in that second one leads us on to this.
Yes.
We are the creators of our reality, okay, via our thinking, okay? So nothing in the outside world can impact us, okay? Yes, events happen, okay? So for example, the date decided that he didn't want a second date, okay? That's an event that happens. We are the one that then are responsible for what we make of that, okay? And we can shrug and go, that's a shame, move on to the next one. Or we can make that mean something about us, okay? And so he isn't responsible, or she, or whoever it is not responsible for how you feel. You are responsible for how you feel, because they just did their thing. Okay. And we then, it's almost like going back to the clouds I spoke about. That's a single cloud that happened. You wanted to, and he didn't, or she didn't. So the cloud passes, or the clouds build up because we're blaming them for how we feel. Oh, but if he'd said yes, then I would feel better. Okay, no, it's you're creating all of that, and again, when we see that, so it's like saying, some people will swear blind to me, online dating is really hard. Okay, so they think it's the dating.
Yeah.
Okay, other people will say, I'm having the time of my life. So who's telling the truth? It's not the dating; it's your thinking about the dating.
And including that there are no good people to date. Everybody's the same. Can't trust anybody.
Whatever your trigger is, all men are after younger women. Men say, all women are, they want to know what I earn as the first thing. Or, whatever it is that you are seeing is of your creation. It's not true. It's not fact. And if you can just see that, goodness me, makes it so much easier, knowing that you're responsible.
Do you find that sometimes that's a challenging thought for people to get their heads around and to actually accept that?
Well, because it's accepting responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's a big one.
That is a huge one. That is a very, very big one.
Accepting responsibility for yourself, for your life, and for your experience. Because it's easy to blame others.
And I guess also with people that come to you, when you help them through the certain processes, or, let's talk especially about big breakup or a divorce, I think it's 100% true, definitely in my own experience, and client work and so on, that unless we take responsibility for our part in that breakup, I know we're not talking about a date or something now, but even if it was 97% the other party, we still have, I think it's much more equal than that. Yeah. But we still had our part to play, right?
Yeah.
And that's a sticking point. We're not going to move forward until we have accepted that part of our contribution into the situation, right?
Yeah. So true. Yeah. It really, whatever you feel the percentage is, it's still, but it's freeing then when we can accept our responsibility. Then, I've had clients that, can't move on, or rather, they say they can't move on. I say they won't move on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because for them, they're just blinded by he did this and he did that. I can never forgive him, and whatever it is. But you can, and in fact, you must.
And if not now,
when?
Yes.
It's
what
like,
else is it going to take?
Well, yes, and I just I think it was Nelson Mandela quote that comes to mind. That is, resentment, or one of those, resentment, anger, or whatever it is like drinking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die. So I've kind of misquoted and whatever there, but you get the gist of it.
I do. I think it had something to do with forgiveness or unforgiveness or something.
Yeah, maybe I think it was forgiveness, wasn't it?
I love that quote. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's so true, because the only person that you're torturing is yourself. Yeah. And it's and I want to be clear here, this isn't about condoning whatever,
of course,
events happen, whatever that was. I'm not condoning this. But you choose whether you move on or not.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to reconnecting with ourselves. Because why wouldn't you want this beauty that's within to shine?
Yeah. And not just, doing this. I always think, is there anything more that you can do for your future relationship? It's like the biggest gift you can give to yourself, I think, to prioritize your own healing and do this work, right? But what more, to be able to be in this position and to be who you are for your next relationship, and even for maybe people who haven't, is looking at having a new family or another family, or for your future children. It's just it's just the most wonderful thing. And I still, we're married, well, we're together now 7.5 years, but it's not work that ever stops, because you still have to keep doing it. You still have to stay connected. Otherwise, in 10 years' time, you look at each other and you've disconnected again, and you go through the whole thing again.
And it's about choosing well-being. It's about choosing well-being for yourself, but also as a couple.
Yeah.
So the choosing of well-being for yourself in preparation, getting ready for love, that's where it has to start. That relationship that I said that happened, after my divorce, I wasn't connected to myself. I didn't love myself. I felt like, there's that crazy cliche about, finding the missing jigsaw puzzle piece. I expected him to complete me, to make me whole. And of course it wasn't going to work out. What pressure was I putting on him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is about seeing that we're not broken. We don't need fixing. We just need to reconnect with that part of us. And then it's like everything falls into place. Everything falls into place from that point.
Absolutely. Oh, I just love talking to you. It's listening more. It's just, when you say things, I'm like, I'm sure I wrote that somewhere as well. Exactly the words, you're not broken. You don't need fixing. I know it's somewhere in some blogs and somewhere. So it's so wonderful to just, be with somebody that you really resonate with so much. So thank you so much.
Likewise. Likewise.
So our time is flying still, but I still have a few questions with you, and thank you so much, Rebecca. So I ask all my guests these two questions, and then we're going to come on and you just tell us where people can get hold of you and what you're working on and what's new and exciting and all these kind of things. But what's your definition of love?
Actually, that, what I just did.
Okay.
And that is, I've got goosebumps from my head right down to my toes.
Oh.
It is home.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being home. And I mean that here. That's love. It's like this. And I know you're asking for a definition, and I'm struggling with words because
I'm tearing up now. So you just
do you know what? It's a feeling. It's a feeling that we have deep inside us that connects us to everyone. Actually, okay, and it's inside. And I'm going to cry as well now. It's an inside thing. It's not a projection on somebody else. This is inside. That's love. And we go looking for it, and we don't need to go looking for it because we are love. Mm-hmm. Okay, it is who we are, and when we see that, there's a quote again, and I can't remember. Some saint said, "We set the world ablaze," and that's it. So I don't know what kind of definition that was, but
this is a first for me, crying on my podcast. Thank you so much. That's I like that word, ablaze. It's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. So we've talked a lot, but if you want to just pick one thing out of everything we discussed or summarize something or, but the one thing, if somebody who listens today and they walk away, if they forget everything else, what is the one thing that you want them to remember, to go away with today?
To look inside.
Mm-hmm.
To look inside at themselves, not in a judgmental way, absolutely not in a judgmental way. Look to their center. Look to the essence, the perfection that they are. Whether they think they're not, because there'll be a lot of yeah, but going on. Okay, that's ego, little self. This is look within to that place that I call home. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing. If they can just get a glimpse of that, and that's where the juice is.
Thank you. That's a good reminder for me as well. The little self and the real self, almost.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, I've composed myself. So I know you are always busy creating new content and wonderful blogs, and I love your videos as well. There's tons of stuff on your site.
Yeah.
So just at the moment, what's new and exciting that people can come and check out? Yes.
Well, I love working with groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just I recently moved back to South Wales by the sea, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I've recently run a workshop, which was rewriting the script to midlife. That's the kind of the broad title I give it, but we cover everything, all sorts. And and it's so funny because I don't start the day with a box of tissues on the table, but within 5 minutes I have to go and get them, because there is something magical that happens when women, and this is what I love. So I've got 2 more dates coming up. One in November, Saturday the 13th of November, and Saturday the 11th of January. It could be the other way around. It could be the 11th of November. It's on my website anyway.
It's the 11th
you've probably
of
got the dates there.
The 13th of January.
Okay, that's it. So 11th of, and we have a lovely day sitting around talking, me asking questions, allowing it to grow organically, go for a walk on the beach, have lunch, and just share. And it's beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And the women then come as strangers and go away as friends.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Well, like you say, there's magic that happens when women come together. I absolutely believe that. Yeah.
I'm running an online program about reconnecting with a sense of purpose, which I think is going to be very exciting. And that starts early October. And again, the details, I've sent you the link will be in the show notes.
The links on,
yeah,
absolutely.
And that's kind of a weekly video that I will be asking you questions and sharing and just helping you to look in a different direction. Mm-hmm. From, thinking, oh, what's my purpose? I did used to know and now I don't know. And so this is just kind of, let's get rid of all of that and start afresh. And inspiration shows up big in that. So that's
a really great thing to do this time of year as well, isn't it? Yeah. Fantastic. Okay.
So that's good. And other things in the pipeline as well. There will be work. I'm wanting to work. Well, there's a guy that I know that we're going to be in the new year working on relationships and divorce, how to thrive through divorce. Mm-hmm. I've also recently had run a retreat for one client who came here, spent 2 days with me, and we spent it walking on the beach, which was amazing. Oh. And there is something something deep happens. There's transformation when you get to spend time with someone. And that's something that I felt it was a privilege to be able to do, was to just spend 2 days with her and seeing the shift in her. Yeah. And now she goes forward feeling very different about what's possible for her. So
I think that is such a special thing that happens when somebody decides to commit and invest in their healing and their transformation in that way, isn't it? It's just, and as what we do, we play a small part in that, and it's absolutely wonderful. Gosh, it's there. People can actually come and hang out with you on the beach.
On the beach.
Can I come?
You certainly can. Definitely.
I'd love to do that. That sounds amazing. Yeah, we need to rethink our meeting up arrangement. Yes. Okay. So like I said, we will put all the links in the notes, and obviously there'll be a mention of your book as well, Best Pick as Always, and all this stuff. And so we're nearly done, I think. I think just I usually, to my listeners, we usually aim for kind of half an hour, maybe 35 minutes, just because of timing, but we are way over. Listen, Rebecca, I have loved every second of listening to you, and I am so grateful for all your wisdom and experience that you've shared with us, and for the work that you do and the people that you impact. And I just so love talking to other coaches and telling people about what other coaches do, because I just feel if somebody just connects to you through our, talking to each other, and that does something in their life, then that's just amazing, isn't it? It's just, it's wonderful.
And people just need to hear one thing for it then for things to slot into place for them.
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be this big, huge breakthrough event, does it? It can sometimes just be that small shift in perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so I'm so glad we did this. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Please don't go anywhere. I'm just going to say thank you to whoever is listening right now for being here with us. And thank you for connecting. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being part of my community. And as always, if you have any questions for me, I'm on Twitter @datingcoach, or you can email me. I love getting emails, which I do, and it's just wonderful. It's anna@datingcoach.uk, anna@datingcoach.uk, and you can get hold of me there. Oh, Rebecca, I had a client with somebody who became it was through the podcast, but she went through a series of episodes, and then literally within 4 weeks she met somebody, and it was just like, when these things happen, it's like, that's just amazing. You don't even know when you do these interviews who will hear it, where it will land, who listens to. But I believe you hear what you need to hear when you need to hear it. And I hope for our conversation today that it will land in all the right places, and that whoever needs to hear it will hear it. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And don't go anywhere. I'm going to talk to you afterwards. But thank you so very much for being here.